You don't want to start this off with an apology, and I just made a TikTok about it and posted it. We talked about Amazon not being that bad, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was making that a short, and it was supposed to be the short that came out today. But as I was making it, I was like, let me look into the stories that I'm talking about to make sure I know what I'm talking about. Which, kids, you should do before you talk about it. So I brought up a lady having a heart attack in an Amazon building, and my impression was that she was either picking or stowing. She had a heart attack in a section. Nobody got to her for a couple hours for the reasons that we explained, that you can be in one place in the building by yourself for hours on end.
Yeah.
Well, I got two stories mashed together.
Oh.
I got the story of a heart attack from a man who had a heart attack in Amazon, but from my understanding, it was around a group of people. He looked at them and said, please don't let me die, just to make this have some stank on it.
Right.
Wasn't given medical attention for 20 minutes, and then Amazon says, yeah, no, he didn't die in our building. Completely fucked up. Fuck Amazon for that. Yeah. I know they pay my bills, but fuck Amazon for that.
Yeah.
And then the other story was a lady was clearing snow off of her car in the parking lot, and she was found collapsed 6 hours later. Oh. So I got those two stories mashed up, and this is a lesson, and I said it in the TikTok I just posted. Don't talk about stuff if you don't know exactly what's going on.
I guess that makes sense.
I will stand by the stories you hear of guys can't go to the bathroom. Oh my God, it's so much walking. The UBT and TOT expectations are irrational and unreasonable. I will stand by those stories are blown out of the water. Yeah. It's not that bad. But those stories I just listed out, the ones I talked about, and hey, it's not really that big of a deal, I'm the asshole. So I apologize. Get your facts straight before you open your mouth. That's the lesson we should be learning from this.
That is a lesson, yeah.
But to the actual topic, Z, can you believe we're not dead? The Earth is still here?
Yeah. Speaking of...
You know what I'm talking about.
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody was talking about the rapture was happening yesterday. Oh my God, the eclipse was going past these Nineveh towns, even though it was not really as many as people were saying. God was coming back in the Lord and all.
The amount of eclipse deniers I have seen on social media in the last 2 days is ridiculous.
Eclipse deniers?
Yeah, that's what I'm calling them. Yeah, they were like, the moon was moving in the wrong direction. There's no way you can't. It was something along the lines of the moon being in the wrong place at the right time or at the wrong time because of them. Like, it was a new moon. There shouldn't have been an eclipse. That's how an eclipse happens.
Okay, I didn't see that. I just saw people saying, oh, spiritually it feels weird and the rapture is going to happen because this, and that. And I made this joke to my lady. And tell me if you agree with this. You think, because I don't know how many end time prophecies you've heard, it's happening on this day, this year, whatever, right?
Like 2012.
You think that maybe some of these people have guessed it right, and because the prophecy is God's the only one who knows when everything's going down. The angels don't know. Jesus doesn't know. The angels go up to Jesus and they're like, dude, is it happening today? And they're like, and Jesus is like, I've already told you, fuck off. I don't know. Only the Father knows. But do you think these people have guessed it right? And an angel's just walked into God's office and like, hey, the humans said the end times are happening tomorrow. Is that true? And God just goes, fuck! That was a little aggressive. But you think that actually happens? Because I think that happens. That had to fuck up my microphone. I really hope it didn't.
Well, I can say you clipped out on my end, so I...
Shit. Well, I screamed fuck for...
Okay. I'm not
For those watching on the video,
sure.
you'll get a nice little visual.
Right? I'm not entirely sure if that would be the case there because humans have tried to guess it for so long. Like when the Aztec was that or the Mayan calendar ending in
Yeah,
what
in
2012, the movie 2012,
Uh-huh.
anything after that, it's people have always freaked out when those times actually came around. They're like, "Oh no, the Earth is actually going to end," and it doesn't. I don't think that's for us to try and figure out.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, do you think we guessed it right one time? And God was like, well, they can't know. So I got to push it back. And do you think that's why everything is in chaos now? Because
honestly,
God is constantly like, fuck, they keep getting it right. They can't be right. I have to be right.
So for the record here, I am Christian, right? I don't think that's what's happening from my understanding of God, the Bible, and everything in between. He won't not know. I mean, we could always guess it, but if that's just going to be the time, then it's going to be the time. Somebody's going to have to guess it right at some point.
But that doesn't fulfill the prophecy. And you know how we got to be about prophecies.
The prophecy is that when the rapture happens, everything will come down on us and, be the end. You either go to heaven or you don't. But there was never a time frame as to when that was said to happen.
Yeah, I know.
As far as I'm aware.
But this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is who's going to show up. And then the whole thing of nobody knows, not the Son, not the angels, not whoever, only the Father knows. So that's why I'm saying when someone is like, oh, it's going to happen March 25th, 2024, and God is just sitting up there like, yeah, I mean, it was supposed to, but I'm the only one who has to know this. I'm the only one who should know this. So fucking, I guess the earth is extended by 10 years. We renewed the lease.
From what I'm saying is I think God has a plan and it's not really going to change. So if we guessed it right, then that's just us guessing it right. Then, I mean, it would have to just be right. I don't think God would be like, okay, I'm going to push it back now since I'm the only one that can guess it. I don't think that's how it would work out.
I don't want to chuck insults, but being that this is the same guy that throws a hissy fit just because gay people exist, I wouldn't put it past him to...
That's the issue. He doesn't.
What is your evidence for that?
He says, love thy neighbor as you love thyself, or to love each other, in general. That doesn't speak on heterosexuality
it says gay
or
people.
homosexuality.
Well, it depends on how you take the verse. A man shall not lie with another man as he does a woman. It is an abomination. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing the verse. Some people think it's talking about pedophilia. Some people think it's talking about gay people. But for everybody around that worships this guy, outside of the couple that are progressive, I'm just saying when I go up to them and they say something along the lines of what you said, and I don't think he'll do that. I'm like, this dude, if according to your standards, this guy will throw a fit and call just a man loving another man in a relationship kind of way. He'll throw a fit and burn them for eternity, just like a fucking murderer, just like they're going to the same place Ted Bundy is. Okay, so I'm not putting it past him that something as little as us guessing the correct date will throw his little ego off.
I'm not saying it's not a sin, because it is a sin as stated in the Bible. You're right. I will retract my statement. But the issue is, just because it's a sin doesn't mean you're going to die for it immediately. I mean, you may not go to heaven, but that's whether you believe or not. In the Old Testament, God dropped people like flies.
Yeah.
For sins. So,
God was closer to Thanos than he is this all-loving...
yeah, but then, Jesus came around in the New Testament and died for all of our sins, which basically stopped that from happening, but that's not meaning that you won't go to hell or heaven, because you'd still have to repent.
Which, that's a crazy thing, by the way. That's a crazy thing. Like, the master of the universe needs this one thing to happen so that we can all be saved from him. That's an insane thing. There are rules outlined
that you should, lean towards following if you believe in...
No, like, there's rules for God? Like
the 10 Commandments?
The fucking... I'm talking about God. For God. There are limitations.
I don't believe so.
Then why is it? Because I hear this just held over our heads consistently. Though only the one and begotten Son came down and died so our sins would be forgiven. It's like this guy has the power to forgive the sins already. So why does he need to hold this little sacrifice over us? I know I'm phrasing it in a very disrespectful way, but that is how my brain is working.
Okay,
this guy has the power.
Your brain, I believe your brain would be leaning towards the wrong direction here. He could, of course, he has the power to forgive you at any given time. But what's the point of forgiving somebody if they aren't asking for forgiveness?
That is an entirely different conversation. What I am saying is holding the sacrifice of Jesus above our heads when that was an event that didn't need to happen, because you already have. The whole thing is, I sent my Son down to be a sacrifice for your sins. Cool, whatever. But you already have the power to forgive everybody. All they need to do is drop to their knees, clasp their hands, and pray to you. Why do you need to send down this Son to get murdered brutally? By the way, they fucked Jesus up. The Romans fucked Jesus up.
I mean, there is the Lance of Longinus.
It's like, I did this so that you can be forgiven. It's like, we didn't ask for that. You could have just forgave us. Holy shit, man.
I'd have to delve into the New Testament to give you an exact answer for that. But my belief is that, well, I don't even know where I'm going with this.
It's all good.
I would like to believe that, there was a point in time where God was just like, okay, I don't want to kill everybody all this time or all the time.
That's a wild thing. Man, I'm happy that he came to that conclusion.
I mean, the New Testament's Trinitarian. There's God, the Son, the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost is who carried out all of the killings whenever somebody sinned. And eventually God was just like, okay, I'm sending down my Son. You can all convert to Christianity and repent for all your sins and you shall be saved.
One of the funniest interactions I ever had with my grandfather. It's when I was little and I was still on the cusp of believing in Christianity. And he was like, you have a question? Here's the book. Go ahead and ask. And I was like, can you explain the Trinity? And he looked at me like, why? Why that question?
So I actually looked into this not too long ago. The Trinity, the Holy Trinity was introduced in the New Testament. And I believe the group of people that actually wrote it into the Bible were the Roman Catholics, I want to say, that time. And
made sense. They had a fuck ton of power. To explain Roman Catholics, back when Rome fell, it was the emperor, the pope, and sometimes it was like that.
Yeah. And I want to say,
history fact.
I want to say, from what I've been told by a friend who's recently started converting over to Muslim, is that the Roman Catholics introduced the Holy Trinity for their benefit. That's a way. Theory. Yeah, it's a theory. I can't to this day find anything on that, but she has yet to send me the actual proof. She's told me where to look, but I couldn't find it there, so I'm gotta ask her again.
Yeah.
But the Holy Trinity in a visual sense was, I think I saw a little graph here. It was like God, Holy Ghost, Jesus, and it was like is not, the Father. And
Father,
it was,
Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, Amen. And it was like they're all one, but they're all separate in a way. Like, I believe in the Bible, Jesus said that he himself is not God and to not worship him as God, which is like the is not God part. But God sent Jesus down as a part of himself in the Bible. So it's kind of confusing to look at, and it's been the thing on my mind the last couple, I think, months at this point in time.
So you gave a basis on your beliefs. I'll give a basis on mine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not some 15-year-old atheist. Those aren't, when I'm talking disrespectfully, this isn't like, oh my God, you believe in God? No, I grew up Christian, sometimes going to the Methodist branch, sometimes going to the Baptist branch. Fell out when I was like 17 years old. And I was like atheist for a year, not even. And now I'm on that border. I'm not ever going to be that cunt who's like, well, I believe I'm a spiritual person. I collect rocks and I judge who you are based on a fucking star, you stupid bitch.
Astrology.
But I'm on the border, and right now I currently lean towards there is something, because I kind of want to believe there is something, and there's a whole afterlife conversation that we can have. I do think that if I really think about it, I think it's the Christian God. But I always struggle, is that because I was raised in such a Christian household that if I think there's a God, that's what I learned. That's who's there. Of course, then you don't know, because Christians, Muslims, and Jews worship the same fucking God.
Yeah, I'm going to say most monotheistic religions worship the same God. They just call them different names.
Yeah, Christian, was it? It's
Christian is God or Jehovah.
God. Muslim is Allah.
Allah, yeah.
Judaism, I believe, is the same. It's the same thing. It's just, I believe there's a couple differences, but I think the main ones is Muslims don't think Jesus was the Messiah. They think Muhammad was a bigger prophet. Jews don't think Jesus was the Messiah. They just think that he was a prophet, but he wasn't the Messiah. And I sit in there and I'm like,
I believe we had this whole conversation at Amazon one day with Raph, actually.
Yeah, because Raph is also a very heavy Christian. All the fucked up shit he's done. He's repented. He's been saved.
Well, he had a fucked up childhood. So.
He did. He got fucked. We're not going to pour his business on the streets, but he told me more stories. And he was fucked.
Yeah.
But that's my basis. I guess you classify it as agnostic. I'm not a full-blown atheist. I think there's a lot more than what science can tell us. But I'm not. And right now it's more on a moral standpoint. And I know a lot of Christians may hear that and go like, but it's a moral standpoint. If it's the Christian God, I don't really fuck with the guy.
There's like groups of Christianity that I dislike very heavily because they're like holier than thou. And it's just, that comes into like the hate for gay people and all of that. And they're trying to push their own beliefs on other people. It's just like, you can believe what you want to believe. I mean, I know where I'm at. So I don't really care about what you believe or not.
See, I proposed this question to a couple different people, and I posted it on my TikTok, and a lot of people couldn't see it because I just called the Bible an old book, and they got really offended by that, which fair. Fair. I called your holy book an old book, whatever. But I said about the whole gay and trans thing, just sit down. Ignore what the LGBTQ community and those blue-haired fucking cuck liberals try to tell you, and ignore the Bible and what your pastor tries to tell you. I just want you to sit down, and I want you to think rationally. You have a guy who loves a guy, or a woman who loves a woman as a significant other. Do you really think that the dude that you claim is this all-loving being, just wants everybody to be happy and follow him? Do you really think he gives a single fuck about where you put your dick? Does he give, unless it's in a child, even then that's a little shaky because of history. But do you think he gives a solitary fuck if a man loves another man? Really? And if he does, to the point to whether he's throwing them in the same spot as Ted Bundy and fucking Jeffrey Dahmer and all them fucks and fucking list them out, then is it okay to worship that guy? And if you say yes, you have a problem. That's my rationale.
That's your rationale?
A fucking problem.
Mine is you follow whoever you follow of your own volition. So I think if you want to follow God, you live up to that word and you do what you got to do. Cool, fine. If you don't, you don't. Cool, fine. Whether, like, from what I've seen, there's a lot of people that have issues that seem to not come from the religious standpoint, because it's always, in most cases, from what I've seen most recently, I should say, it's always race-based. Like,
what? I know there's a whole thing with how Christianity is linked to white supremacy in America, which is true, but what are you talking about in modern?
So, like, on Instagram the other day, I saw a remix of a song. It was a Christian song. It's sung in churches, quite often. And the remix follows the style of what usually a black church would do, and not like an old like Baptist black church, like a non-denominational like Methodist style church. And like it was this white lady dancing to it, and I admit it was a great song.
Yeah.
Like I was bumping along too. But then the first comment I saw was, "So we just gonna play off of black churches now?" And I was like, "What?"
Just have fun. No, when you immediately said Christian song, I immediately go to that massive internet meme. And it's so funny. It was played so many. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
My rhymes are quick.
Oh,
My
that
fruit is big and it keeps getting bigger. That's because Jesus Christ is.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I'm not saying that on YouTube.
What the? That's why you're here. Why else are you here? No.
I know why I'm here. But YouTube is flaky and YouTube's a snake, so it's hard.
But I just don't want to make this a Christian kind of thing. What is the wildest religion that you've come across?
Well, the wildest, I don't know if it's a wild religion that I've come across, but the wildest like fact on a religion that I've come across recently was that the fact that the Quran is the only unedited religious book. And that follows, God. And I looked into this.
Is it true?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
There are like several books within the Bible that have been...
That's the Islamic text. Islamic text, right?
Muslim.
Well,
Muslim.
Yeah, is Islam different? If you're Muslim, you
I don't know
worship Islam. Yeah, no. Islamic is the religion of the Muslims. Just like Judaism is the religion of the Jews. Why they decided to completely change the first letter, don't know. But I believe the Torah is Judaism, the Bible is Christianity, and the Quran is Islamic.
Yeah. So, I looked into this, and there were like several books in the Bible that have been taken out, either for, I don't know what reason that I was going to say, or the fact that it was incomplete, I guess. But yeah, there was a lot that have been taken out.
There's actually, not to promote another podcast on this podcast, but it's one of my favorite. Time Suck did an entire episode on the lost books of the Bible, and one of the things is the book of Enoch.
Yep, that's one of them.
The book of where this guy, what I hear is a perfect man, like one of the most righteous men that ever lived. So God pretty much had to grab him and just bring him to heaven instead of him actually dying, something like that. And I guess the people putting together Bible was like, well, Jesus is the sinless one. We can't have another sinless guy.
Yeah, the Book of Enoch, the Protevangelion.
Don't even
the
know.
Gospel of the Infancy of the Jesus Christ.
I also heard there was one that followed Jesus when he was like a child.
Yeah, that's what I just said. The Gospel of the Infancy of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and he like fucked up a neighbor kid, and Joseph had to grab him and was like, yo, we don't do that. And I was like, yeah, that would contradict. I may be paraphrasing again. This is information I got from that Time Suck episode. Go listen to it. Everybody who's scholars on the Bible, judge it for yourself. But I heard that story where Joseph had to like grab him and like say like, no, you have special powers. Don't use special powers. With great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man. But yeah, not adding that into the sinless guy when he was fucking up a neighborhood kid. Yeah, I'd understand why that wasn't.
Yeah, there's a lot of epistles. There's
why did you say it like that?
Epistles? Yeah, because there's Epistle of Barnabas, Epistle of Ignatius to the Ephesians.
No, hold on. Where epistle?
Yes, Epistle.
Oh, it's different. I thought you were trying to say apostle.
No.
I was like, what the fuck? I've never heard it like that.
No. That's not what I was trying to say. Not at all.
Jesus and his epistles.
Yeah, there's a lot, and this list I'm looking at doesn't even list all of them. Because whatever I looked at a while back had a chart, and it was like whether this is canon or not. And there's a lot of like non-canon books in the Bible.
It's very funny to use because I only use canon in terms of like video games, and it's a funny
lore.
It's the lore of Christianity. I know it's appropriate, but in the context of what I use lore and canon for, I know it's appropriate, but no. I think
labeled.
I think one of the most wild religions I've heard of, and it's a whole debate whether a cult is a religion or not, because I just thought, people are going to say like Heaven's Gate or shit like that.
Fun fact, I'm not going to Heaven's Gate when at my old job at FedEx.
I'm not going to touch on any of that because, again, cult versus religion is a whole thing. But Mormonism is a wild thing to me. First off, when you die, you get an entire planet to yourself. That's a pretty good sell. That's a pretty good sell.
I guess, yeah.
Dude, you're telling me that if you open the door and you see these two little crackers and these white... I'm sorry. In these YouTube won't like that. We might have to blur that out. But in these little get-ups, all riding their bikes and shit, going, hi! By the way, if you convert to us and you get an entire planet, convert to us now and you get one free planet when you die. That's a good sell. If I was not up to what Mormonism is, I'd be like, a planet and you get 5 wives? Come on.
Yeah. So where I'm at now, there's a lot of Amish people out here, as well as Mormons. But my roommate's stepdad, I want to say, is Mormon.
Yeah.
As well as his stepsister. But yeah, it was pretty hard for me to learn the difference.
Amish is a crazy thing. I just thought they were people that just didn't want to be touched by future shit, which is true.
For the longest, I thought they were the same thing.
Dude, when you look into the Amish culture, you're like, oh my fucking God, what a bunch of scumbags. What a bunch of fucking scumbags, dude.
Ooh, what's going on with the Amish?
What's the other version of Amish? Because I know there's another version. Mennonite.
Mennonite, yeah.
Amish and Mennonite. I forget what the difference is, but I know it's kind of like Christian and Judaism. To my understanding, don't fill the comments with hate. All right, leave 5 stars, and then you can leave a hate comment.
And then tell us how we were wrong.
But no, the Amish... I would love
to learn more.
The Amish are very... what a lot of Christians used to be. Hey, this person of higher power in this community did this to me. Shh. Don't touch it. I should say Christians. That was a lot of people, but especially in that. Especially with little kids with those fucking Catholics. You fucking pedophiles. The higher ups. If you're Catholic, you're not automatically a pedophile.
Christ.
I'm going to cut. That's going to be part of the promotional clip. And
you're going to catch a lot of fucking hate.
So the Pope, I just hear a knock and my room goes dark. And I'm like, he's here. Just hear French. By the way, there is a Wikipedia page that is full of sexually active popes. It's an entire Wikipedia page. And I love it so much. Yes. Unless it's been taken down. It's hilarious.
Looking it up right now. Oh my gosh, there is.
Yeah. I watched one of my favorite YouTubers is Sam O'Nella. And he made a video discussing what popes did in the past. And he showed that Wikipedia page. And I was like, there's no way.
You say salmonella like salmonella?
Yes, it's the joke.
Okay.
Yeah. But he made one pope took out the previous pope, dug him from his grave and made him stand trial with someone holding his arm and moving his lips. And they found the previous pope guilty, and they tossed his ass in the river.
Jesus, there's a lot of different... Why are there categories in this list?
There was a pope who turned the church into basically a brothel.
Popes who were legally married. We've got popes who fathered illegitimate children before holy orders, known or suspected of having fathered illegitimate children illegitimate children after receiving the holy orders, popes who alleged to be sexually active during the pontificate, whatever that means. I gotta look at that word up.
Yeah, you got it, dude. Once you look at the weird shit popes have been doing,
relationships with men. Men.
There's a whole Wikipedia page on gay popes. Imagine, dude, gay pope is such a funny label. You know, he's a gay pope.
Oh, there's bi popes too. Benedict the Ninth.
There's bi popes, gay popes, pan popes. I imagine it like a cartoon where a guy's just like a bishop is pointing him out. There's a gay pope, bi pope, straight pope, pan pope, trans pope. But no. What religion outside of Christianity interests you the most? For me, it's Shintoism.
For me, the one that interests me the most would probably be not Roman, Greek.
It's basically the same thing. The Romans just copied everything about Greek culture. They were fans of Greek. They white peopled it. I hate to say
mythology is what I'd say. Yeah.
I hate to say it. They were the white of the white because they took another white culture, because any fucking moron who's like, white people don't have culture, you're a fucking loser. You don't know anything about history. But they just copied Greek culture and was like, yeah, no, we like that. So I guess, well, we can't name them the same. So Zeus is now Jupiter, Ares is now Mars, and we'll just name them after planets. Call it a day.
I don't know if they knew of the planets then.
They did.
They might have. Oh, okay.
Norse mythology, I think, is some of my favorite mythology, especially after playing
Norse mythology. Yes.
Especially after playing God of War, the new ones. My God. Dude, I know.
I haven't even played some of those games.
I played the first one. I haven't played the second one. And I know it's probably not a super realistic interpretation, even though Norse mythology and using that as a realistic thing is kind of funny. But they were realistic with, like, they made Thor this bodybuilder kind of build. And people, I think, were a little upset with, like, well, because they know MCU Thor. And they're like, yeah, not the same guy. This Thor is a warrior who delves into whatever their version of liquor was. Often mead. That's what it was.
It's a great liquor, by the way.
Norse mythology is because Odin was a human that gained knowledge, I believe, is part of the story, which delves into what the universe was created. But I believe in Norse mythology, it's the 9 realms, right? Mm-hmm. Asgard, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I played. I'm getting this from video games, I know, but I also learned about it. Especially, did you read the Kane Chronicles when in school? It was kind of like Percy Jackson. I think it was the same guy who just wanted to catch that magic again, but instead of Greek mythology, it was Egyptian mythology. So you had Ra and Isis, and I almost said Hermes, and I almost said Hercules, Horus,
yes.
Thoth, all that. Yeah, that is stupid, especially the River of Styx and how you get judged by placing your heart on a scale with a feather, and if your heart is heavier than the feather, then a crocodile eats you.
I mean, I hadn't looked into Egyptian mythology like ever, but much as I know would probably be from League of Legends of all things.
My lady played Assassin's Creed Origins, and there was a temple to Sobek, who is the goddess of crocodiles, and there was a massive albino, like, Nile crocodile in the middle of it. And I swear to God, the entire game, she was just hanging out with that crocodile, killing people and bringing bodies for it to eat, which it never ate. But she would just sit there like, come on, eat it.
I do want to play some Assassin's Creed games. I mean, I've always wanted to, but I've never found the time to.
But Shintoism. Have you looked into Shintoism?
No.
It's the prominently Japanese religion that is, I believe, the worship of nature. I can't name you any gods or goddesses. I don't know if there is any. I think
Do
it's
you
just
mean
nature.
Hinduism?
Huh?
Do you mean Hinduism?
Shinduism. Unless
See, I looked up Shinduism and I see Shinto,
yeah,
which is
that.
oh, okay.
I guess I clashed those together trying to make it an ism.
Yeah, that is a Japanese religion. Yeah.
Yeah, Shinto. It sounds Japanese, not to be racist.
Polytheistic and animistic.
Hinduism is very, very fascinating because it's based around what a guy who just sat on a mountaintop and just gained inner peace, and everybody's like, that sounds cool. That sounds pretty sick.
Yeah, I guess.
I know a lot of people are gonna be like, no, that's not what happened. That's basically what happened.
I'm trying to see what the main belief is, but it's the world's third largest religion.
Hinduism?
Yeah.
Really? I know Christianity and Islam are the top two. That's the big two. But I would have expected Judaism to be number 3.
Is Judaism even considered different from Christianity?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
is.
I'm doing a lot of research here.
There's a whole argument between denominations, but I think the true Christian denomination or the true Christian belief is that Jesus was the Messiah. Like that is a core.
Well, in Judaism, the holy book is the Hebrew Bible. So,
no, it's not. It's the Torah.
Hebrew Bible, Judaism holy book was what I looked up.
What is the Torah?
Here we go. Holy book in Judaism is the Torah. Why am I getting 2 different answers here?
Yeah, it's the Torah for sure.
I literally the first thing that pops up is Hebrew Bible, and then I scroll down and then click on what is the holy book in Judaism, and it says the Torah.
Jews. At the basis of all Jewish sacred texts,
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, which are the same first 5 books in the Bible.
That is true. I believe the Torah is basically just the Old Testament, if I remember.
Probably.
So that may be where you're kind of confused?
Well,
maybe?
I mean, I'm also confused, but apparently Google is confused as well. So.
Well, at the basis of all Jewish sacred texts, I'm reading this from my phone, is the Torah. In its most basic sense, the Torah is the 5 books of Moses, which tell the story of the creation of the world, God's covenant with Abraham. Yeah, so it's the first 5 books of the Bible. Genesis, Exodus,
Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. I had to memorize that at some point for church.
I had to. And
when I was a kid.
I had to. I know, there's 64 books in the Bible, I believe. Yes. Dude, if I pulled that out of my ass, I'm going to be so proud of myself. I believe it's 64.
How many books are in the Bible? 66.
66, that was too off.
And 73 in the Catholic Bible.
There's more in the Catholic Bible? I didn't even know that. First off, what Bible do you read? Like, what Bible do you have?
The Christian Bible.
No, like New King James.
That version, I think anytime I read the Bible would have been either in King James or I can't remember that one.
I know it starts with an N.
Yeah, that's one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. I always read the New King James, and then I got told, hey, King James was a bit of a twat, and he kind of changed a little bit. Or that's what I've heard from some Bible scholars.
King James Version is harder to read in general.
I see. Have you ever read it front to back?
I tried. I think I made it all the way up to... I didn't make it far, so I think I stopped at probably Deuteronomy.
I made it to the middle of Exodus, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, see, I had when I tried reading the Bible front to back, I think I had a kid's Bible, which I could probably find somewhere.
I had a Bible for teens, and it was a orange and beige Bible.
Mine was blue, and it had pictures.
Well, it had the text, and then it had annotations, I guess you would say, where it would take these texts and kind of put them in the context of like a teenager's life, if that makes sense. It was actually, I've recommended it to my grandfather because he used to, I don't know if he still does, but he used to teach a youth class full of teenagers. So I was like, that's a good Bible to give to teenagers.
NIV, New International Version. That's the version I read the most.
There it is. But I do want to segue that way. Sure.
Segue
that into, I say I've only read to Exodus. And I'll say that, right? A lot of people, when they hear me talking disrespectfully about Christianity, will read the book, read the Bible for yourself. And then some people will say, well, the Bible was written by man. You really have to pray and have a relationship with God. Whatever. I am fully open to hearing anybody out. I am. I have my thoughts. I have my beliefs. I have where I stand. But I told you, because we were on the game while this was happening, I think, or after it happened, where I made that, where I said the Bible is nothing but an old book and yada, yada, yada. Someone got upset with me.
Idea. And
they were just giving me, well, these religions and these communities, and they all recognize Jesus as the Messiah, and just over and over again. And I was just like, sure. Can you give me some literature to read about that? And he wouldn't. He was just like, you don't know this? Well, this. I was like, sure. I don't know it. Give me some literature to read. Wouldn't give me any. So
that's the holier than thou type people that I really kind of don't like.
Well, even then, I don't trust it because he was like, they found Noah's Ark in the mountain. They found it, and they said it was Noah's Ark.
Oh, I remember we talked about that.
I looked that up, and no, they didn't. They found
where it could have been.
They found where it could have been, and a lot of people say that the part where they're like, that's the boat. It's like, no, that could be just a rock formation. So no, they have not definitively found Noah's Ark. So when I read that, I was like, okay, I'm taking what this guy says as bullshit until he proves me otherwise. And he just started rattling off all these facts, no literature to back it up.
Yeah, I completely understand I'm also open to other views. Like I've altered my view on Christianity based on what I've researched myself. Not really based on what other people have told me, but I mean, I've jumped around in the book several times, following sermons and whatnot, and may or may not have read parts and like further on for some parts. But like when somebody starts telling me something and then they have nothing to back it up, it's just like, I'm not going to believe you until you give me something I can follow and read along to.
Well, that does go both ways because I've watched videos or seen debates, because I do watch a lot of debates between like a lot of Sam Harris debates. I believe that's what that cat's name is. And a lot of them, he does not come out on top when a lot of atheists are like, oh, get him. But like when someone points out this verse, says this fucked up thing, I'll go and I'll read the entire passage and not just the verse, because I know it could be taken out of context. So I'm doing this to give you what I genuinely am. I am open ears. Like I said, I have my beliefs. I know what they are. They're going to be that way until I change them, but I'm open to that change. And that's what matters.
Yeah.
I felt my fuzzy blanket and I thought my dog was next to my leg.
I just saw your dog and noticed he was in there. She?
But I hate
she.
Maybell's right there.
Yeah.
And then Opie's right there. But I hate people who, like, what is it? This is an entire conversation by itself, but I got to bring it up now. You got to have a good moral base to be a good human, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there's that famous quote of like, be open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brain falls out.
Hadn't heard that one, but...
Well, I live by that. I'm not sure who said it, and it might just be some dumb thing parents say. But don't be so open-minded that you're influenced by the first thing you hear. I found myself doing that a lot, where I've standed and this is my belief and this is what's right. And then someone has just said 2 sentences and I'm like, oh, well, it's like, don't be like that.
In most cases, when I like have like religious conversations with people, which doesn't happen very often, I should probably say that first. It's usually like, I'll hear them out and, we'll talk, and I'll explain my views. They explain theirs, and I amend mine based on how knowledgeable they seemed. But I in most cases will go back and try and fact check for myself.
I push back, and I don't talk to people a lot, but I do have conversations, especially when I'm friends with people like you. When my entire family is a Christian family, I'll have discussions, and I find myself getting heated quite a lot because I'm not going to call anybody out, but one of my family members did throw in the group chat about how Muslims are to blame for all the problems in Europe, and I'm like, really? Is that? But I will say
sorry, that's hilarious.
There is a Islamic chick who I can never she always stops me in the tracks, even though I expect it now, because when you see someone, you're like, hey, how's it going, right? Or you just give them a nod or whatever. If we'll meet in a lane, she'll look at me, she'll tell me something, and then she'll say, peace be with you, and walk off. And I'm like, that's new. What do I say to that? What's my response? I guess that's, I don't get to respond.
In a lot of cases in the South in general, there's a lot of have a blessed day. That's usually I follow with you too, you as well, something like that.
Well, there's a lot
of with you. I don't know.
See, it's weird in the South because there's a lot of passive aggressive stuff. If you hear an old white Southern woman say "bless her heart," it's not a good thing.
It's a black person too. That's what you call a backwards compliment. Old
Southern women, bless your heart. We'll pray for her. That kind of shit. It's not a good comment.
No,
it's not.
It's always comment. She doesn't know they don't know what you're talking about. Bless your heart.
But my biggest struggles when it comes to believing in a religion is the free will argument. I hate that. I hate it. I hate just why does evil exist? This may be new to
me. What's the free will argument?
So we're looking more and more if humans truly have free will, or if we are just hardwired from birth that this is what it's going down. But the thing I'm talking about, I know that made no sense. I'm trying so hard to stitch my words together, but I know that a lot of people are going to hear what I just said and be like, okay, I guess he's continuing. I'm talking about when it comes to hey, why does this happen? If God's there, God's good. Why does this happen? Free will. I fucking hate that. It's not a good enough excuse for me. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to free will.
I took that statement on a much more generalized term and was thinking laws of reality and shit. Because I'm a very scientific based person. I mean, I am Christian, but I sort of based my beliefs off of science.
Have you read into the studies regarding free will and if humans truly have free will?
I've never really looked into free will in general.
There's some very interesting stuff, and I can't if I could look into your mind and I will know what you're going to pick before you do. People have done those studies and been successful in those studies. If I show you a banana and a piece of fried chicken, not racially motivated. No, I'm kidding. An apple or an orange, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, you better.
Oh my God. It was there. It was a layup. It was there. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Maybe.
This is why I don't complain about the fat head shit, because of the shit I say. But if I show you an apple and an orange and I'm like, pick one, I could know if you're going to pick the apple before you pick the apple.
See, I think that's pattern recognition.
How so?
Well, I mean, considering this is based off of if you know the person or if you've had them make these choices before, or a test type environment. It's you pick this so many times and I only see the results, and then I'll throw you up the options in person, and I'm going to say, since this person's picked Apple 73% of the time, he's most likely going to pick the Apple. So I'm going to say you're going to pick the Apple, and if they somehow end up picking the Apple, it's I knew what you were going to do. No. I would base that off of pattern recognition. I don't know how the free will test is done, but that's what I thought.
So what they are doing is they're bringing people in, and I believe they're attaching some sort of contraption under their head, and they're reading their brain waves, right? Seeing how quickly you react to something. And again, this is me paraphrasing. I'm not smart enough to understand all the terms and shit. But from what I know, they hook this shit up, they read your brain waves, and they'll say, pick one of these two. And they will read your brain waves, and they'll be like, oh, he's picking apple. And then you'll go pick the apple before you know that you're picking the apple. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have to look into it. I'm not smart enough to explain this in in like a good way.
I get what you're saying, but it just doesn't sound feasible to me. But I'd have to look into it to see how that would make sense. So
there's a great conversation on Star Talk, which is Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, where he brings on a bunch of people way smarter than me to talk about shit. He brought on a priest and someone else and had them debate a bunch of stuff. But I don't think free will exists in the way Christians see free will, because I don't think free will can work in the same context of a God who knows what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen. Because that leads me to believe that the universe is scripted out in some way. And if it's not, you can't say that I chose to either be with God or didn't, or not be with God.
That sounds like a butterfly effect type thing.
What do you mean?
Like, say, okay, yes, God knows what has, is, and will happen, right? But
the
like
whole omniscient thing?
Yes. Omnipotent, omniscient, yes. But like thinking back into like these are movies, so I'm not saying this is based off of facts at all, but like Back to the Future. I almost said Back to the Past. Back to the Future, like if you change something, you never know what's going to happen back into the future that you're going to because you changed something.
He was erasing himself because his mother was falling in love with him. Weird angle.
Yeah.
But
yeah, but like I feel like that would make more sense as to like, sure, yes, God does know all of everything, but that's based off of the path that you're going to take on your own choice. But so I mean, you could totally make a different choice, but who's to say that that's not what God already envisioned that you would do? This is just in the case of God, but I mean, it's not like he's controlling everything, or that it was. I mean, it could very well have been scripted, I guess, but it's just like it's patterns, and you have the choice of one or the other, or this and that, and it's just like you're more likely to pick this, which means this would happen. And I mean, I guess that's like, I knew you were going to do that, but it just feels like pattern recognition to me.
Again, it's either because a lot of people say you choose or you don't choose, and it's not up to God, right? My issue with that is if it is an all-loving God that wants you to worship him, wants you to follow him, wants you to be with him, and he knows what it will take. He can see what will it take for you to believe, and doesn't do it, and still knows that you're going to go on not believing, being an atheist, being agnostic, being Muslim, whatever. Is there really a ground to stand on when it's like, well, you didn't choose to be with me? Motherfucker, you could have showed me what I needed to see, and I would have been right there.
I think the whole point is that he already has, and it's kind of your choice. It's hard to.
That's a tip of really gaslighting.
Yeah. It's just. That's a difficult one.
Yeah. That's why I fuck around with it so much, because I'm like, dude, I can't. I've laid out some of the things that I believe in which I cannot worship an all-powerful being. If there's a God, I need to get up there, come face to face, and he needs to be like, humans. If it's the Christian God, is humans fucked my shit up. I said, fuck it. Just let them ride with it. I'll do the rapture whenever. I'll be like, all right, little fucked up, but I'll accept that instead of like, yeah, I loved you and I want to be with you and I want you to be up here with me. I didn't really do anything to convince you because, well, even though I knew what would have convinced you, but I mean, your choice, your fault, dog. Tough. I don't know why. I find it funny.
I feel like, now that I think about it, I think the free will thing is way more complex than we're making it out to be.
No, it definitely is. That's why I told you a lot of people smarter than me are having these, discoveries and experiments and all that. And I can't explain it properly, but I do listen to it.
I can't help but think back to you ever seen Loki?
Mm-hmm. Well, the show? Yeah. Clips.
And without giving away too much for anybody that plans on watching it, I guess, the point, there's a background logic to Loki that if you change something in a timeline, it creates a new timeline, and everything that didn't change, still stays. And if you did change it, that's the new timeline where things would change and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think that God would see, everything that will happen. Because, I mean, that gives you the freedom of choice, and it could either go one way or the other, and you could just know what would happen depending on what you choose.
Steve, that still doesn't make sense because you can't shock this guy. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what you're going to do.
But you only ever have so many choices.
Well, I'm saying this guy knows what choices you're going to make, what path you're going to follow. If he is this omnipresent, omniscient, knows what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen at all times with everybody, there's nothing that you can do. There's no choice that you can make. There's nothing that you could say. Like in this conversation, God knows what I'm about to say. If this guy is present, if it's the Christian God, and if it goes by the laws of this guy, again, knows what has happened, is happening, it will happen. Everything. There's not a single thing that you can do to shock this guy. He's unbeatable in a fist fight. If you box with God, you're going to lose. You're going to get fucked up because he knows what punch you're going to throw. Years before you made that throw.
I mean, yeah, but like I said, there's only so many choices you could make. So, I mean, if you know what's going to happen, you can know what's going to happen either way. Which, I mean, doesn't really argue against you in a sense, but it's just saying that...
I'm not laughing at you, I promise. It's just funny to where your rebuttal is, well, this doesn't really argue you, but...
I mean, it's not really arguing against you, but I mean, if God knows what your choice you're going to make, I mean, he could know what choice you wouldn't make, or not. He knows if you're going to make the other choice too. So I mean, It could go either way. You could simultaneously make both choices. I mean, that's just Schrodinger's. Is that Schrodinger's cat? No, it's almost like Schrodinger's cat.
I'm not even gonna. I don't understand those terms. I'm not going to act like
Schrodinger's cat is quantum theory, and it's like if you put a cat with some poison in a box with a timer and all this shit. I may be saying that incorrectly, but in conclusion, the cat is both dead and alive in that box, and you don't know which one.
Yeah, until you look. So Schrodinger's cat is a famous thought experiment that demonstrates the idea in quantum physics that tiny particles can be in two states at once until they are observed, which is true. They found particles in the universe that don't have a state until you look at them. It asks you to imagine a cat in a box with a mechanism that might kill it. Until you look inside the cat is both alive and dead at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's the thought experiment. We can have an entire episode on a thought experiment, but my first thought was like, it's either dead or it's alive. It can't be alive or dead until you look at it. Did you hear the gun go off? It's probably dead.
Well, the issue is that you just don't know what happened in that box. It's who says it has to make a sound for it to die or for you to know it's dead or alive?
What I'm saying, with your point of God knows what you are going to choose and what you didn't choose, I know. That's the entire thing, right? He knows that if you are faced with a choice of like with me, do I quit football? Do I not quit football? He probably saw maybe if he sees parallel dimensions as well, probably saw that little universe that I went on to play football, but I'm in the state right now where I quit playing football. That didn't shock him. That didn't take him by surprise. When I go off and I drop Christianity, God wasn't sitting there like, what? The twist? No, dude already knew
I mean,
that.
you're right. You're not going to shock him, but that's not to say that you don't have free will.
I guess that is, I've started to think it's a little bit of a non-argument for like the free will, because it could possibly be you still have free will, and at the same time, God is looking down upon you and sees you using that free will like a tool. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But then that conversation will shift over. It's not a cool thing to say like, I love you. I want to be with you. I want you to worship me, and not do what is necessary for that person to do that. I don't think that's cool. And just saying, well, free will, I don't think that's an excuse. I really don't.
It's not an excuse, but he gives you the choice whether to follow him or not.
And he knows what choice you're going to pick. And he knows what it would take for you to say like, absolutely, I believe in you now. I'm with you. I'm with your word. And he doesn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
I think the ultimate decision is to eventually get you to follow him. And it's not like he's going to make the decision for you, because that's practically what that's doing, is making the decision for you, essentially taking away your free will.
But why? Why? First off, I want to say just making the decision to follow God or that whatever, that doesn't take away free will automatically. You still have free will in a lot of... It's why a lot of people say, well, evil has to exist for there to be good. Why? No, it doesn't. Well, if the world was sinless, no problems would exist. Really? Do you handle money? Do you handle money perfectly? No? Is that a problem? Yeah? Look at you. But again, if the options are follow, worship, what if I didn't follow and I didn't worship the guy, and he was like, well, I guess you don't get into heaven, you just don't exist anymore. Fine, whatever. But the option is throwing you to his worst enemy for you to be fucked for eternity. And it's like, really?
Oh, it's not his worst enemy. It's the funny thing.
What's his worst enemy?
There isn't one.
Satan is not the worst enemy of God. I know he's not parallel to God, but the Joker is not as good as Batman. It's still his worst enemy.
I mean, I guess you're right in that sense, but I mean, God still practically controls Satan.
That enters an entire conversation of Satan fucking
That's another
with everything.
conversation.
People not liking Satan. That was another thing. I know we get past an hour, but it's like, again, love, want to be with, yada, yada, yada. But I'm going to let this guy just stroll into earth and fuck with my creation, the creation that I say I love, say want to keep away. Like if you had a child and you were aware of a danger, you would get rid of that danger. I don't want to hear, no, you would get rid of that fucking danger.
Okay, hear me out here. So this is what I've heard in church. God allows Satan to do what he does to challenge people to further their beliefs in God. So it's kind of like giving you a challenge and, you being competitive, you want to win. So, you fight back and you believe harder.
Again, not an excuse.
Not an excuse, no.
Why are you bringing it up? It's not an excuse.
It's not. I'm not arguing.
Because God
I'm not going to
knows.
say I'm arguing against you, but I'm just saying it's not. I don't believe it in the way that you're saying it.
If God exists in the way Christians think, then the ultimate explanation, in my eyes, and as I said, I'm open to anybody and everybody teaching me, right? In my eyes, it's he created something because he was bored and he wants to fuck with it, which is wild considering you're fucking with human life and life in general. But when you say, oh yeah, no, he introduced this new character just because he wanted to challenge his creation, it's like, that sounds like a guy who's fucking bored and wanted to fuck with things. A. B, he knows which one is going to fall, so that questions, is it really a challenge if he already knows the result? So is it even fun for him?
You ever play those games? Sorry to cut you off, but you ever play those like word tactics games where you push your army up against another army?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like I equivalent to that.
Again.
whatever word means equal.
Well, I heard someone explain it as if you were playing The Sims. Say someone created a Sims, created a little family, and then he said, and they trapped that family in a house and set it on fire. Would you question them? Would you question their morals? Or would you say they created that, they can do what they want with it? I'd be like, if I had a friend who did that, I'd be like, are you okay? What happened?
Yeah, I
plus,
see your point.
That's not human life. That's a fucking computer. Well, God sees us as a computer. No, he doesn't. He sees us as God's children.
According to all those people out there, we're just being controlled by an entity above us, like we're a game. We're in a program. Life is a program.
Are you talking about simulation theory?
Yeah.
I've looked into that a little bit. Have you looked into simulation theory?
I every time I look into it, I get lost.
I do. Some people say, yeah, I see rendering in the sky. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
That's the part. It's just like, no.
But that whole Schrodinger's cat thing, I'm not going to act like I can pronounce it correct. But
just say scrotum and then add a sh in it. Scrotum.
No, I don't want scrotum coming out of my mouth. I'd rather have scrotum coming in my mouth. Anyways.
Okay.
Okay, let's chill out here. But the whole particles existing but not existing at the same time until you observe them. That whole thing, because in a video game, especially in like an open world sense, the map is not fully rendered at all times. It's only rendered where you can look and where you can see. So that people are like, oh, simulation. But
it's a whole topic.
It's been an hour 6. I feel like we had a good conversation. Again, I want to reiterate, if you want to call me a moron, call me a moron. But if you want to be a good human being, say, hey, chill out on the disrespect. I accept that. But please, I'm open.
If you disagreed with whatever we said, just tell us how and give us the information to look it up.
And where can they give us that information, Z?
In the comments section.
In the comments, rate 5 stars and call us disrespectful, blasphemous little shits. Or I guess me, he didn't really do anything. Do that. Email us, redlighthomies@gmail.com. Email us a strongly worded letter, and we might read it on the podcast and have a good laugh. Get in the TikTok comments
or
the YouTube comments. Don't tweet at us. There is a Twitter. You can follow it, but I deleted it because fuck Twitter, and it is Twitter. Yes, I'm going to be an annoying cunt about it. It's not X.
Call it X.
X is fucking stupid. And that's it. This has been your homies, Jackie and Z. And we'll see y'all next Monday.
Peace out.